trucks, chemicals. What do I need to get started in the swimming pool service business? What do I need to drive? What do I need to get around? What do my techs need? How do we how do we get around? What do we do? Right? And this is actually a really interesting part of the business is the equipment, the tools, and the chemicals. So it's actually one of the great things about the business is you don't need a huge truck. So you don't need some kind of Super Duty F-350 with a trailer and a dump in the back, anything like that. You can go super lean. I tell a lot of people who are looking to get started in the pool service industry that just use what you got. If you have a small bed truck, if you have a cargo van of any kind, most people don't have a cargo van, but if you were in a different business and you had something like that, use what you got. I will say that they do get very dirty in the back, leaves, debris, chemical dust, things like that. So don't use like a sedan, like a SUV that you use to take the kids around. Don't use anything like that. But if you do have something appropriate, like a small truck of some kind, a pickup truck, or some kind of a cargo van for another business, these things are possible. Just know that it will get dirty. So let's take a look at some of the kind of favorites that we had in the industry. So a few of the vehicles that we like. So we like the Dodge brand vehicles. So we had Ram 1500s mainly, but I love the Ford F-150s. I love what they're doing with some of the Rangers and things like that. So there's nothing wrong with any of them. GMC Sierra, GMC Canyon, Toyota Tundra, Toyota Tacoma. They're a little bit pricier for kind of when you're comparing apples to apples on the vehicle side. But any of these will work. We just happen to use Rams. We like them. The good entry level Ram was called the Tradesman, right? So that's kind of a bare bones basic Ram. You can get a long bed, right, in the back. You could do the same for the F-150. They had the F-150 like XL, and then STX was kind of one notch above that. So some of these more durable, regular level vehicles. I would say look for vehicles that are look. I mean, the budget is everything, right? With vehicles, so don't go crazy. If you're just starting out and you do need to get a vehicle, don't go crazy. You could get a great, well-running, reliable pickup truck for 10 to 15,000 bucks. You don't need something that's 40, 50, $60,000. You don't need leather seats. You don't need heated seats. You don't need any of that. If you have a truck that has some of that, and you do want to use it in the business, what I would say is get seat covers. There's some phenomenal seat covers out there, so get some seat covers, get something like that where you can protect some of your interior, especially if it's a nicer interior. You do get dusty and things like that, so it's just part of the job. It's part of the nature of it. So these vehicles all work. If you do prefer a small van, I have seen some companies work with small vans in the industry. So the Ford Transit van, those are the smaller Ford vans. Good gas mileage, four-cylinder ones. The bigger ones were called the Econolines, the older ones, and then the Rams were ProMasters. I have even seen a couple of people use Mercedes Sprinters, but I wouldn't recommend that. They're just a little bit of a higher price point, unnecessary. There's plenty of vehicles out there. Try to aim for something that's going to get you 18 to 20 mpg at least. Some of the vehicles may do that. The Rangers, the base F-150, the V6 versions of all of these things would be best. That'll definitely get you the 2, 3 mpg better. If you want the 8 and you just have to have it, you're just going to sacrifice a couple MPG, no big deal. So keep those things in mind in terms of vehicles. Other things to look out for with vehicles, try not to get something that's had a major accidents or has 300,000 plus miles, things like that. Even if it's a good, reliable brand, there's a useful life to everything, and you may end up having more problems than it's worth. And in a business like ours, the important thing is to have reliable daily transportation, because if your vehicle breaks down and you're out for 2 days, you're going to have 2 days worth of route that's out, right? So that may be 30, 40 pools that you miss that you either have to refund for those 2 days or catch them up let's say on the next days. And if you're alone, that's going to be difficult. If you got a team, that's going to be a lot easier. You give it, divvy up 5 extra pools to each guy or something, and that's not a big deal. So that's definitely okay. But again, try to stay away from stuff that's just not going to be reliable. It's not worth your time. If it's going to be in the shop, it's going to end up costing you money anyway. Try to stay away from salvage or branded titles. These things are rebuilt vehicles that had a catastrophic accident or loss of some kind. Try to stay away from those. You just don't know how well they were put back together. I'm not talking about a small accidents here and there, bumper, fender bender, this not that stuff. Just like total salvage vehicles. Looking out for those. Try not to mess with things like that. Having any kind of warranty in place. If the vehicle is very old or very high mileage, that's not going to have a warranty. But if you have something that's a little newer, a warranty is great. Keep up with the regular maintenance. This is a big one. Oil changes, keep the fluids in check, battery, keep a new one, get a new one every couple of years, things like that. Your basics. Keep the vehicle clean. I can't tell you how many times I've lost little things that I've needed, whether it was a part or a bolt or something. Keep the vehicle clean so you can see everything. Wash it once a week, empty it out once a week at the very least. Try to keep things clean. Uh, from from the vehicle standpoint, V6s or four cylinders are typically better on fuel. But like I said, you don't need a 4x4 V8 for the work. You're not hauling anything super heavy. Even a trunk full of chemicals, or a bed full of chemicals, a couple, 300 pounds. So no big deal from the hauling perspective. You never really tow anything either, so everything is nice. That's what's great about the industry is each technician can kind of take the tools and the equipment with them, especially if you have truck beds, you can get these little covers, you can cover everything. They can drive the vehicle home or they can drive it back to the garage, to the yard or wherever you store the vehicles. As your company grows, you may have parking for them or they may take it home with them, whatever the case may be. Like I said, if they take it home with them, just close up the back, lock some kind of lockable cover or something. These are just some of the tips on vehicles. Looking at tools of the trade. There are some interesting things to note. I love on the brushes. So what do we got? We got brushes, your main pieces of equipment. You have brushes, you have poles to attach to the brushes, and netting to scoop debris, which also attach to those same brushes. Those are your three main items. So pole may be aluminum, or in this case, carbon fiber. It may be uh, different lengths, especially if you have, so like there's some that are, or all of them are collapsible, but some have additional levels. So they can be 8 feet or 9 feet, 7 feet, and then they expand to like 16 or 17 feet, which is great. So you need to be able to reach all the areas of the pool. The aluminum ones are a bit less expensive than the carbon fiber ones. All of them are going to get beat up, you know, i- 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 any of them. So whatever you're using in the field, just like anything else in the trades, they're going to get beat up. So don't go overboard with buying super expensive things to to do the job or for your crew to get over expensive items. Usually you want to go with the mid-grade, better quality stuff. So like let's say brushes, the aluminum backed brushes are better than the all plastic brushes. The all plastic can tend to snap. But go for the quality, but don't go fancy, don't go nuts. On brushes, things like that, anything with rounded edges, rounded tips, they get between the stairs and the crevices, corners really well. That really works well, things like that. Other things you'll need on the daily. Typically you'll have like a blue caddy. It's kind of like handle and you can keep a few tabs in there. You keep your gloves, hammer, glue, not glue, silicone, test strips, cleaning kit, things like that. So you'll have a caddy, and really that's the main big stuff. You may have like a multi-tool, pliers, rags, something to clean with. This is all once you're in the groove of the work, you will figure out what you need on a daily basis. And you'll see, oh, you know what? I'm constantly needing a needle nose pliers. I should keep one in the caddy, or I should keep extra pair of gloves in the truck. These are the things that you'll kind of learn on the go. I just wanted to cover some vehicles, some tools, some equipment with this video to give you a little bit more familiarity, what and some tips and additional things. Uh, Other items that I found helpful to keep in the truck, the must-haves in the truck. You got to have extra rags, clean rags. You got to have band-aids. You got to have water resistant bandages. You small cuts I'm talking about. So like you're opening a pump or a lid or something, you get a small cut. You want to be able to have a watertight bandage of some kind because you want to keep going in your day. You don't want to have an open cut and you're reaching into a dirty filter or excuse me, a dirty skimmer or some kind. You want to be able to make sure that you have that, some um, cleaning ointment, something like that. So those are good to have in the vehicle. Bandages, band-aids, rubber gloves. Rubber gloves are good. You may encounter some things that you don't want to pick up with your hands. We do encounter sometimes like a small dead, a rodent or something falls into the skimmer. It's part of the job. You scoop it up. You're not touching it with your hands, but you can scoop it up and it goes out with everything else, just like anything else. Every field has its stuff, right? So you encounter things on the job. You're working outdoors, indoors, you're working with filtration systems and equipment. This is why you're getting paid well, right? This is why you're charging a premium for your service. You're getting paid for it as well because customers don't want to deal with these things. And that's why our businesses work because they don't want to deal with it, especially in the summer, especially in these hotter climates, right? So you want to do the job that nobody else can do and you want to do it well. And in order to do these jobs well, the better equipment you have, the better vehicle you have, to a point, right? Don't spend unnecessarily, but the better equipment and vehicles you have, the better this is all going to go, the smoother this is all going to go. Let's see. And some other things to take note of. I have it in the notes in the course, but I want to just take a second just to go over it as well. Protection from the sun. So in some of the summers in like Arizona, Florida, in the summers in these hot climates, Texas, wherever the case may be, the exposure to the sun can really become difficult. Like even if you're not in the field, if you're the operator and you got 10 guys under you, whatever the case may be, it's always a good idea to get them very breathable, long sleeve type equipment, uh, shirts and neck gear, preferably hats that can cover the neck area a little bit, gloves, things like that. I would even wear long pants, even in the summer. Just buy performance breathable mesh material. It's just as cool as having short sleeve stuff, but you're getting that SPF, that blockage from the sun, so your guys aren't getting burned, you're not getting burned. It becomes a real problem after a long summer. So you don't want to go through that. You take care of yourself, and the job will become much easier, much more fluid. It's not going to be as much of a grind. All of a sudden, it becomes, oh, this is cool. I got my app. I got my truck is prepped. Everything looks good. I got my gear. I got a long sleeve on. I'm cool. It's breathable. Everything's good, you know, and it becomes a very streamlined, manageable process, just like any other trade would be, right? Because these are difficult jobs, and that's why people don't want to do them. People don't want to mow their own lawn. They don't want to paint their own house. They don't want to change their own AC system. They don't want to clean their own pool. It's the same thing. That's where we come in and that's where we charge what we need to charge to do the job right and to help people get a good looking swimming pool for their family to enjoy. So these are just some of the things that, we need to make sure we're on top of. Other important notes here, let's look at some of the chemicals that we're using. Now, one thing on chemicals is some areas may dictate how much chemical you can have in the vehicle at any given time. So for the most part, it's normal. It's fine to have like a bucket of tabs and a jug of acid, and these are the normal chemicals we need to do the job daily. Don't have like a month's worth of supplies of each in your vehicle. Some jurisdictions and cities may have restrictions on that. You want to just double check that. But for the most part, we travel with our chemicals, right? So we'll have muriatic acid. and that levels pH, or that lowers pH. We have liquid chlorine, which is basically like liquid bleach, right? It's chlorine, so it's liquid format, so it's instant, fast acting. Maybe 2 to 4 gallons of those. Tablets, chlorine tablets. That's very common for the industry. And there are a few other things that specialty chemicals that we'll need here and there, things to raise or lower alkalinity, things like that. So once you get the pool really dialed in, some of these you're not going to need on a daily basis, right? And that goes for each one of your techs. So as your techs get their pools dialed in, they're not going to need all of these on a daily basis. They can also notate things. So let's say they didn't have a particular chemical for a couple days, but they know now, okay, hey, these 6 pools from these 2 days were off alkalinity wise. So next visit, we're going to add the sodium bicarbonate, for example, to raise the alkalinity or whatever the case may be. And so, just some things to keep in mind. Once the pools are dialed in on a daily, for the most part, you're just going to be using some type of chlorine, some type of acid to raise and lower pH. And those are kind of the main ones, your main go-tos once everything's dialed in, right? Um, there are a couple of pro tips here that I like to talk about. So when I say dialed in, I mean the chemicals are in balance. What does that mean? Each swimming pool has a zone of balance. So if you've ever seen a water and it said it's pH written on the water, it's the same thing. So water can be too alkaline or too acidic. It can have too little calcium or too much. So and each one of these has its optimal zone, right? And when the best way to operate is to get the pool in the beginning stages into these optimal zones. When the water's in these optimal zones, you can use less chlorine and you can save money that way. N- You know, save money in chemical, right? And the customer will be happier as well because everything's going to be in balance. The chlorine that's in the water will be more effective. There are a few other things you can do to kind of really make the pool work well. So, for example, there are pool mineral products. So, for example, like one is called Pool RX. That's a little thing you can put in the skimmer, and it uses copper and silver and a few other minerals to kill algae throughout the summer. And you can use that instead of a higher chlorine dose, which is actually a smarter way to go. So you just have to make sure that the pool itself, before you put that in, didn't have super high levels of these metals in it already. So if it does, you remove them and then you use this product. So these are some tips and tricks. But I think what to really take away from this is to understand that once you got kind of some of your tools correct, you have your vehicle correct, you have these chemicals dialed in, the work becomes very streamlined. It becomes very manageable, it becomes very systematic. Systems are your best friend in this industry because when you can tell the techs, hey, these are the 6 things you need to do today. It's in the software, it's on the notes, here are the tools, you got everything. Boom, you guys are all set. Go do, make the money, work, get the jobs done, make sure the customers are happy. Make sure to close the gates behind you and let us know if there is any issues, right? So that's streamlined, optimally running business. And when you work with us, not only do we do your digital and everything, but we can help you with the understanding some of these niche details. And these are the little things that make the business run a lot smoother. Lower liability, smoother operation, more money, less incidents, happier customers. These are all the things that we focus on. So you're getting our knowledge, you're getting our community, you're getting our marketing systems, and that's, one of the biggest selling features we have is just that knowledge base. It's huge, and not to pat ourselves on the back too much, but it's through a great deal of experience, uh, not only from our end, but all of the people we work with, and we've kind of compiled this all into very usable courses, knowledge, information, and meetings as well, like Zoom meetings, calls. So we'll be doing all of that. Look at the calendar below in the community. Links are all there. And if you're in the community now, check the calendar. You can jump on those Zoom calls. The links are all in there. And we'd love to hear from you guys. Any questions you have, anything, just let us know. Thanks again. Talk to you soon. This is Ed with Pool Profits and Pool Millionaire. See you later.